All right, can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful. I'm not quite sure what happened. My audio completely disconnected. I apologize.
Oh no. Well, welcome back. We haven't started. I can start the roll call. I just want to welcome everyone to the AlcHepNet WIRB Training. Thank you so much for participating in this. Before we go to a roll call, I just want to remind everyone, if you're not speaking, to please be on mute. There's a microphone in the corner, the left-hand bottom corner, and please just mute that and then unmute if you are speaking. And then as a reminder, this call will be recorded just for training use. That's the only purpose, and it'll be stored in a private account on YouTube. And per WIRB's recommendations and suggestions, this will be taken off in around 180 days and a new one will be created. So thank you so much. I'm just going to have a really quick roll call by site, and then I'll pass it off to Chris, who is our main account manager at WIRB. So from Cleveland Clinic, who is on?
This Annette is here.
And then Annette is on as too, right?
Yeah, both of us are here.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then Indiana University?
Jennifer is here. Layman.
No, Savannah's here as well.
Thank you. Hello. And is anyone from Mayo on?
Yes, Janelle.
Hey,
And
Janelle.
Amy.
Hey, Amy. Is Kevin here?
He's gonna call in 1 minute. He's
Okay.
just finishing the phone call. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Sounds good. From VCU?
Stephanie and Rebecca are both here.
Great. Hello. And University of Massachusetts?
Yes, Mary Gervasini is here.
Monique Renner's here.
Sam Hustock here.
Donna Jansaracusa is here too, right, Donna? From UMass? Well,
Yes,
she is. I
yeah,
can't hear her, but she's here.
Yeah, she said I heard her at the beginning, so she's here somewhere.
Okay.
And then University of Louisville?
This is Chanakya Tirumala.
Yeah,
Hello?
this is Amar.
And this is Praneeth.
Hello. And then from UT Southwestern, I heard Samantha, you're on the call?
Yes, I just got on.
Okay, great. Hello. All right. Well, everyone is here. Thank you so much. I will pass this off to Chris again. He is our main contact at WIRB. And before the call ends and everything, I just want to make sure everyone has a wonderful holiday and New Year too. So Chris, take it away.
All right, thank you. So one, thank you all for your valuable time. I greatly appreciate it. The first and foremost I want you to get out of this meeting is knowing that we're here to help. Whether you call our client services line, which is listed on almost all of our forms, or if you contact me directly, really what we're here is to just help you get through the process. We're not wanting to make it difficult, and if you feel frustrated or that you don't understand something, just call us. We can't help unless you call. So most important piece to take away. First disqualifier, it is the 17th of December in 2018. The information I provide is current to this timeline. I state this primarily because there'll be significant changes with the new common rule going into effect. Not so much with your particular study, but more in the way that just WIRB processes some things. So there may be changes forthcoming as we get closer to the new rule implementing. By way of introduction of myself, as I said, I'm an account manager for Western IRB. I am the primary point of contact for your guys' group. I also act as the primary point of contact for several institutions that are participating, and I'm sure several of the institutions are familiar with their own account managers for that particular university. Either way, if you contact me or the account manager that you're comfortable with, we will work to help and get you situated. They may just defer to me in regards to some specific questions of this particular project. I've been with WIRB for going on 10 years now. I originally started in the lovely world of MUD, that is the Unanticipated Problems Department, and then moved to our client services team for a couple of years, and ultimately working now with the institutions and the custom workflow processes and needs that you guys have for about the last 5 years. Just as a little bit of a more human touch, I have 2 boys right now, and they help me on what is called a small, very small family farm of about 10 acres, and we do a little bit of beef cattle and some other odds and ends, because I'm not busy enough with WIRB and IRB services. So let's go ahead and get started here with the educational aspect. So my primary goals here is to give you a little bit of familiarity with the WIRB website, the Connexus website, which is the portal in which you can submit and retrieve documents, as well as our initial review submission form, as most of you will be using that here in very short order. So first, the WIRB website. It is currently up on the screen. Some key points I want to point out for you. It has a direct link to log into Connexus, which we will see here in a moment. It also has the download forms, which is either here or here. When you go to that page, it has all of the key documents that WIRB utilizes. Just as a reminder, the Guide for Researchers is one of our first documents listed. It has a large amount of information in regards to WIRB processes, general questions, everything you might have wanted to know and didn't quite realize is going to be in that book. It's great for keyword searches. The form that we're going to go over today is the initial review submission form. As I said, this is a little bit out of date just because of the fact that we're going to be posting a new version here at the beginning of the year. The new version has like 3 or 4 questions I won't be able to cover at this time. They're basically in regards to continuing review and minimal risk aspects to see if we might be able to change the review frequency of your particular study. The main items that we're going to cover in the initial submission form are still going to be there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the initial review submission form, as you would need to complete this document prior to making any submissions in Connexus. Little caveat to those that have institutional requirements and policies, don't forget to follow those local requirements for submitting to an external IRB. Some require, depending on your agreement with WIRB, just a acknowledgement or letter that says that you're able to send the seeded work to WIRB. Others require maybe an IAA or what we call an IRB authorization agreement if there's not a standing agreement already in place. So just a quick reminder there to reach out to your local institution and make sure you're fulfilling those requirements there. When the form loads up, you're going to see it's really short. Just one quick question: what kind of submission are you doing? In this case, because we've already started the process of the protocol level review, so that's the overarching study evaluation, and Indiana has already submitted their site as the initial site to get that up and going. You're going to be a site being added to an existing protocol. The nice thing about this is it shortens the form for you. There's less questions because of the fact that all we need to know is the protocol that you're going to be reviewed under versus needing to know all the details and dig down aspects of the protocol itself and the questions that relate to that. Of course, we're going to indicate that it's WIRB. Please note that it does list several of our IRBs, as we are part of a larger group called the WIRB Copernicus Group, or WCG, our parent company, and what they are doing is working to streamline the processes that all of the IRBs use to gain efficiencies for everyone involved. Another institutional reminder: if you do have an agreement with WIRB, let us know. So it's not going to be Indiana University unless you happen to be at Indiana University. It's going to be, University of Colorado or Cleveland Clinic or whatever the case may be, if appropriate to your particular organization. Having an agreement with WIRB already. CPU is going to be a no. And then it's going to start asking questions regards to the study, basic study title information, so we know what you're submitting for. And then we get into the nitty-gritty of who's going to be your site's investigator, what kind of experience they have, if there's any other contacts. For your particular site, you're not going to need to list that aspect. We'll work with the coordinating center to facilitate any additional contacts they might need at each of the sites. Site contacts, you're going to want to indicate anyone else that's going to need to receive documents in regards to the outcome. So it's not just the PI. Normally you've got two key coordinators that are also needing to receive documents or receive the progress reports, information like this that will take a little bit of the burden off the PIs and to redirect the email to you or avoid it being missed entirely just because of your guys' extremely busy schedules. We'll go on to ask you a little bit about if it's been reviewed or not. This is all specific to your site. So think about the questions and how they relate to your specific review, your specific site. In most cases, there's not going to be any issues here or anything that'll stand out. Subject payment, and that does vary from site to site as regards to what reimbursements you might have for your particular facility. So you're going to want to make sure that you provide that information. Key or vulnerable populations, we might have to take additional board action in regards to. Of course, a lot of that's outlined from the protocol as well, but we want to know what you're doing at your specific site. HIPAA, if we're reviewing HIPAA for your institution. Research staff, so we're just looking at counts of how much research staff at your facility will be utilized. Training, what kind of training you've had in regards to human protection aspects. Most institutions have some kind of local training that's required, but of course you can always use one of the other services as well. Medical license information, again, more PI information that's specific to your location. History in regards to has there been any issues, concerns. Please note that if there is any conflict of interest, FDA warning letters, previous activities that result in some suspension of the medical licensing or studies, that all can affect how quickly WIRB could do your specific review. I say this knowing that, from my understanding, we're not going to have any of those issues with your select group, but I do have to remind you that that can delay review processes. All right, financial disclosure, not as apparent in federally funded activities, but more important, of course, when it comes to industry funded. Most likely this will be no for everyone. And then, of course, we want to know the site addresses or address that you're going to actually be doing your research activities. So a lot of you have larger complexes, so you're listing the primary address for the hospital complex. If you have a offsite or satellite location that's not considered part of that complex, then you'd want to indicate that address as well. And the information regarding that particular one, whether it's hospital, medical office, whatever the case may be. Don't forget to follow local policy as well, because some institutions actually, because of how spread out there they are, have you list each of the facilities that you're utilizing, especially once they get those larger campuses where it can be several miles from one there. And if you do have to add a site, it's as simple as clicking the little add button right here, and it'll add another location for you to provide those addresses. Of course, we want to know about confidentiality. We have the overarching protocol level information, but we do want the stuff in regards to your specific site, how that'll be done. Again, I'm going through this fairly quickly, but if you do end up with questions or concerns, you can always call client services or myself, and we'll be more than happy to help you with those questions. Billing information, to correct me if I'm wrong, but this is set up so that Indiana is getting billed for all sites, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So there is probably primary contact information that would need to be disseminated to everyone just so that they can provide that. If it's not available, you can always indicate.
I'll complete this form what I can, and then I'll send a template to everyone. So I'll have it partly completed.
Perfect. That solves that. And then so the last part of it is just who's completing the form, and then you know, the requirements that may have came up. And that's going to be based on your answers. So this is a very high level review of the submission form. The primary thing to get here is that it just works through the questions. They'll add and remove questions as you complete it. If you don't understand a question, please feel free to reach out to myself. Client Services will be more than happy to help you with that. And the last piece of this if I can get my mouse on the right screen, is just confirming we do electronic confirmation that the PI and all information, PI is aware of the information being submitted and all information is accurate to the best of everyone's knowledge, and you're going to confirm that. And the last thing that you're going to want to do is use this little check button. And what that does is it runs a little JavaScript that counts all the boxes that maybe got missed. And it's supposed to pop up a little box that tells you how many you got missed, but unfortunately, oh, it's over here. There it is. So because I didn't fill out anything right now, it's, you know, it went crazy. It says you get 92 things that are not complete. But the nice thing about this is it actually highlights on the form those places that you missed. So like right here, you can see that this is highlighted in red. It's very faint, but it is highlighted to point out that this wasn't completed. And we go back up towards the top, you'll see the same thing here for regards to the protocol title, protocol number, PI information and stuff. So that's another good tool that you can use just to help avoid incomplete submissions to WIRB, and that checkbox is on most of our documents. Okay, gone over pretty dense materials in a very short period of time regarding the initial review submission form. I do want to open up this if there's any questions before I go ahead and move on to next. All right, I'm not hearing any. Give me just a moment here, and I'm going to log into Nexus, the generic Nexus account here. Okay, so now I know that it actually works. So what I did is I clicked on the Login to Connexus button right here, which popped up another page. My Connexus, if you don't have a Connexus account already, you can do the Create a New Connexus account right over here. Username that's unique to you, an email address, obviously your work one, register, and it'll take you through the steps of collecting some basic information regarding to you and your work life, such as your work address and that type of stuff. Once you're done filling that out, it'll then send you an email to confirm your email address. In that email, there will be a link that you either need to copy the link information into a browser or click on the link to validate your account and actually be able to set the password. If you have troubles with establishing a new account, Client Services or myself will be able to help you with that and get you up and running. For those that already have an account, you can easily be added to the project just by the coordinating sites keep people adding you as a participant to the study, and that will make it so you can submit. Another thing is you can always reach out to me and I can help with that as well. So logging into the general Connexus user account. This is a dummy account. It has dummy information in it, so which means it's incomplete information as well. So I'm going to point out key pieces here, but sometimes the information won't make complete sense just because it is dummy information. If you have questions, please feel free to interrupt me or have me go back to something. But in general, the portal system is intended to be user-friendly and fairly straightforward once you've gone through everything once or twice. Things I'd like to point out first is the training. So if we log in, this is our home page or dashboard. Right here on the side, we have the quick access links. A lot of that information is, of course, repeated right across the top here. First thing I like to point out here is the Connexus training. We're going through a training right now, but if you need a refresher, there is the training schedule that's posted for each year, and generally those meetings happen at least once a week. There's also a quick access guide, which just has each screen and a quick overview of the key information for those screens, like how to submit and so forth. So if you're someone that learns a little better by doing it yourself, you may want to download that quick access or quick start guide so that you can assist you as you work through the user screens. So let's go over the dashboard itself. The dashboard here comes up with a few key informations up front. So you got the recent clinical research news. This is in regards to all of our research realm. And then, of course, the recent WCG announcements. So these are things more specific to our particular company here at WIRB, or WCG as the parent company. Next, which are your, what I call the more important boxes, is the submissions requiring action. So if there's anything that we're working on for you, for any of the studies you have access to, that is on hold or needs some kind of action, whether it is a sponsor CRO or coordinating center action or a site level action, it's going to list those submissions here. And in the reason area, there'll be a little decal that you'll be able to find out what's going on. Below that is the recent outcome documents. So every study that you have access to, it's actually going to provide you with those outcome documents, so you can download them just by clicking on the outcome documents link here. Okay, before I move off this screen, I want to show you two other help features that are here. You have the online support system, which is basically a fancy IMing service that goes directly to trained professionals, either in the technical aspects, meaning that it's someone that can help you with general Connexus questions, or if you choose this drop down and select WIRB, it'll be a WIRB staff member or WIRB trained staff member that can then provide you specifics in regards to WIRB processes. This is not meant to be a regulatory record, but it's very helpful if you're just wanting a status check, and it's easier to use the IMing service versus give us a call, or if for some reason it's not showing the status in Connexus for you, which does happen rare, but on occasion. We're going to close out of that. The other here is the walk me features, which is the need help here on the side of the screen. We pull that out, and then list common activities such as making a submission, and it'll walk you through the same process I'm about to take you into. I'm not going to click on any of these, but what it does is it just creates an arrow pointing at each step of the way. So first, let's take a looking at submission or making a submission, then we'll go back to my submissions and then ultimately my studies and my investigators. So making a submission. The very first time that you're going to make a submission for your particular study, it's always going to be called initial review. It's the first time your site has been reviewed for that particular protocol or study. If it's completely new, it's new research protocol. In your guys' case, because the protocol has already been submitted, this is a site participation of a study or a specific investigator submission. So we click on that. And in this case, when you do that, it's going to list the studies that you have access to, which is why myself, coordinating center account managers can assist you with getting the study added to your study. What you're looking to do is select your guys' protocol, and then you would be able to submit a new investigator, which is right here on the side. So let's take a look at that first screen. When you're submitting a new investigator, it already knows what protocol that you're working on. Next, it's going to ask for basic information such as submission name, investigator's name, whether you're an institution or not, which is always going to be yes for you guys, and then any notes that you might have. Now, submission name is unique to your preference of naming conventions. Some institutions like to put their local identification number or IRB tracking number as part of the naming convention. Others just do the investigator, the short protocol name, and a date. It's really up to you. It's what will be helpful to you in, say, 5 years when you're looking back at it and needing to go find a document out of the initial review because your regulatory binder got damaged or whatever the case may be, or is missing a file record. When you indicate that you're an institution or medical center, the submission may ask you which IRB to route it to. Of course, we want to say WIRB. Normally, this question isn't going to populate with your guys' research, but if it does, please select WIRB. The notes and concerns for the submission is just a quick note that you can send to the processor that's going to be working on your submission. So it's not required, but if you wanted something that's not covered in your submission form, or if you wanted to make them aware of something, then that's a quick way you can do that. Of course, we are doing an initial review submission, so if we saved and continued on, which it's going to yell at me because I haven't done anything, the next page, page 2, is just asking you to upload the initial review submission form. And here, it's going to yell at me. And CV. So really quick and easy. The first 2 are required documents are always one file uploads. So if we had selected this, I'll pull out of here to get this on screen I can actually utilize. And my computer. The computer is not smart, so even if you put the same file in both places, all it's looking for is that there is a file, preferably a CV, and obviously the submission form. Once you've uploaded those 2, you're going to have additional documents, such as your institution sign-off or a customized consent form. We don't want to mark the optional documents and continue on to the optional documents. Here, you have a couple of options. You can hit browse and select multiple documents. I can actually, so like this, I selected more than one document, and so it updated both of them at the same time. I can then select the type of document they are, whether it's budget or you know, financial disclosure, whatever it happens to be, and then it'll reorder it by the types, alphabetical order. The other way you can do this is by selecting the document type. Say that you had more than one subject material, or you wanted to identify the sign-off up front. You can then hit browse, and the same way you can select multiple documents in any dialog box. You'll be able to do that for this. So if we do that one more time, you'll see when you upload those 2 documents, they both are automatically assigned the institutional sign-off type. Assigning a type whether it's just miscellaneous or whatever's the best fit is important, because if there's no tag next to it, the system will delete the files off before it actually makes the submission to WIRB. Just something to keep in mind. So ultimately, after you'd upload all your files, you'll hit submit, and you get a lovely little confirmation page that has a ridiculously long, like 10-10 digit number. And what that is it's the server's confirmation that it's received your submission. You will also get a email that provides you with that same information as well as a list of files that you submitted to us. So the email should be almost instantaneous, but if it's not, write down that number on that 4th page, because that will allow us to do any status checks or look up a submission, or gosh forbid something happens and, you know, knock on wood, WIRB servers get disconnected from each other. That number will allow us to trace the item all the way through, from the time that you got the confirmation that it was submitted, to it being processed, to it being uploaded into our workflow system, to whoever's worked on it all the way through, and so that we can find that submission for you. Most of the time, you're not gonna need it, because we can look it up by your study identification information. But I just want you to be aware that that's a valuable number for you to keep, just in case something goes wrong. All right, back to home, or the dashboard. Before I go on, is there any questions in regards to the general submission process, or how to make a submission in Connexus? Okay. So, hearing none, the only difference between making a submission that is for a new study or one that's already approved is selecting that's already approved, selecting it's for your investigator, and these are examples, but we'll pick on particular PI listed here. And once you go into your specific PI submission, so I indicated I have an approved study, I indicated it was for a specific investigator, it gave me the list of investigators I have access to, I selected one, and then now I'm on the what we call the investigator summary page, and this gives me a little bit of information about the investigator, and making a submission for them is literally as simple as clicking on make a submission for the investigator. And you'll see that the screen is very similar to the initial review one, just asked a few less questions. So again, we want to know the name, comments if you have them. Here it's important to identify the type of submission that you're sending to us, whether it's a change in research to modify something, which Coordinating Center is going to take care of the protocol-wide stuff, so it'd be site-specific. Or if you had like promptly reportable information, which I don't anticipate, but if you had it, you could put that information in through here. If it doesn't fit in any of the categories that's been outlined, other materials is always an option as well. And this is kind of like your catch-all choice. So all it's going to do is ask you to upload a cover page that tells us what the other aspects are, and you're able to move on. So just something to keep in mind in regards to a change in research. Okay, so initial review, change in research. We talked about making submissions for each of those. Trust me, I don't expect you to remember when it actually gets further down the road. So if you do have, when you do have those questions, if you're not familiar with the system, just give us a call. Myself or client services will be more than happy to walk you through the submission process. So let's take a look at My Submissions page. The My Submissions page is literally what it says. It's all the submissions that have been made for the studies that you have access to. In this case, it defaults to the last month. If we go ahead and change that to any time, you're going to see this is every submission that this dummy account has access to, right? If you want the ones requiring action, if there were any, it would list them by selecting that choice. So there's multiple ways to look at similar data. For a submission that's already been sent to us, let's take a look here. This test account, you can see if you select the submission ID number, the number that you were emailed, you can see a little bit of information about that particular submission and the files that you uploaded. So you can always go back and download the files that you sent to WIRB if there's an issue or concern. It also can be helpful for your auditors if they need to go and take a look at that type of stuff. As this is considered still in process, in other words, it hasn't been reviewed by the IRB, there's no outcome documents, but when your site receives its initial approval, the initial approval submission and the outcome documents from that submission should link up, and you'll see them down below. This is just an extra way to see the outcome documents, but not the primary way. So one other thing that I want to point out where the name comes in to being handy is the lovely little filtering or Google search bar, or however you want to call it. It'll search by whatever you've entered, and obviously 2 new characters. It'll actually return something. So it'll look to match information either in the tracking field, the submission name field, the IRB tracking number, the institution's tracking number, and I believe the name or submitted columns. Those are the places that'll look to match things. So if you put in 2, 3 letters, then it'll start shortening that list for you to be able to find a specific submission. All right. Let's go ahead and go to my studies. Give me a second here. Okay. So my studies, that's protocol level information. So this is studies as a whole. This is going to be the another way that you can get to some general information about the entire protocol. So if we pick one of these, this one happens to be a Copernicus example, but it's going to provide you with the basic study title, when it was reviewed, and what the expiration date is once it's been reviewed. Sponsor, so in your guys' case, it'll indicate federally funded and the IRB of record. It also may have some study-wide announcements if there's so choose to do so. And then I won't list outcome documents for the study level for those that have that level of access. As this is not a primary page for sites, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the My Investigators page, which will be your guys' bread and butter in a sense of Connexus as a site. So on the My Investigators page, again, we have the lovely search bar, so we can quickly sort down to a particular PI or study if you have multiple listed. The other thing that's in here that can be helpful if you're managing multiple studies is these reports. I'm not going to go into them as we're talking more about a single site aspect, but if you have multiple locations, I would go ahead and take a look at these and see if they might be valuable, because they give some information in regards to current site status, the expiration date, and so on. We're going to go ahead and just pick on one investigator here. So if this was My Investigator's primary page, in this case it lists Carmen Thompson as the PI, it's going to give me some basic information about the status. So pending, meaning that WIRB's in the process of doing a review. Give you information in regards to the study as a whole. So similar information at the protocol level is at the site level, but it's specific to your site, so including the institution tracking number. Outcome documents list is also specific to your site. Here you can sort by like a certificate so that you can get all your certificates of approval. I apologize that because of the dummy data, there's no documents listed here. But one thing to keep in mind when you have multiple documents listed here, and let me go back to the study page really quickly just so I can show the example. If we check a couple of these documents, you'll see that create a zip for download becomes available. When you're looking to go and get outcome documents, it's kind of nice to be able to sort by the review date so that everything that was reviewed on at one particular day, you can select all those documents, you can mark them for download. The system will start to create the download file. If it's a larger one, it might take a little while. If you come back later that day, it'll still be there. The file will remain available for, it's like it says, 24 hours. So it's about 12:45 your guys' time, or Eastern time. So about 12:45 tomorrow, that link will disappear. But it makes it nice because you can then go and click and download the file and have all those files in one little nice package. You can also download them individually utilizing this button on the side here. Now, let me go ahead and go across this grid just because it is similar to the investigators one. Document type is just a general classification. The title is the way that WIRB identifies the file record, so like certificate of approval and some details, or advertisement, whatever the case may be. IRB won't be listed on your guys' investigator won't be listed because it's all specific to you. Review date is the board action date, so that's the day that WIRB actually did the review. It won't be the same as the transmitted date, the date that we released documents to the site. So that's something to keep in mind if you're doing an audit of your records. You know, WIRB can approve something on, say, today, the 17th, and you not receive it until, say, the 19th, 2 days from now, because of the fact that we have to finalize those documents. You know, clean up the certificate of action, clean up the consent, get all the documents that are going out being prepared, that type of stuff. So it's important to know that just because it was approved on the 17th doesn't mean that you received it and should have implemented on that day. You know, you need to look at that transmission date. You can't implement something you don't know about. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that aspect. Go back to the investigator page just so I can work down their particular list here. View submissions for the investigator from the menu on the right side there. It's literally just a very quick way of sorting that particular study's submissions. So it's the same as the My Submissions page, but it's pre-filtered down to that one study. In this case, there's no submission because of the fact that this is a dummy data and it hadn't been fully submitted to WIRB or the IRB. Again, make a submission. We talked about that. It's mainly for your changes in research. Manage access for this investigator. Here's an important one. Whoever makes the submission to WIRB can then come back into this the study by going to My Investigators, finding your PI in the particular study, going to the Manage Access here, and you can invite everybody else that needs access and Connexus just by knowing the email address they registered their Connexus account with and indicating best representation. This is not important as far as access level. So if the best match, most people are coordinators, they're site admin, investigators, that type of thing that you would list them as. The access level is where it becomes more important. List only literally is what it says. The study only lists on their screen. They can't really do a whole lot with it. I don't suggest it. Submitter is those that can pull down documents as well as make submissions to the IRB. And it's important to know that although that can be valuable, I more commonly see most close-knit groups using the actual manager function because of the fact that it gives the extra ability of being able to add and remove people like we're talking about right here. So, you know, if there's 2 or 3 primary coordinators, then you're going to want to list all of them as managers so that they would be able to add and remove other people as well as make submissions in Connexus. All right, and then of course down here it'll list everyone that has access, and you have the ability in which to edit their access level. or delete them entirely by using the delete feature. Okay. Back to the investigator screen. I should have used the previous screen or back. Instead, I went the long way. My apologies. The other thing that can be valuable is the contacts for this investigator. This is usually used more by sponsors and CROs, so they know who all has access to it. But as you can see, this tells you the same thing as this page does, but it gives the added benefit of providing the phone number that was listed in their profiles on Connexus. And last but not least is the IRB forms and guides. This is very similar to the training page, except for it's specific to the IRBs. Allows you to get to their download forms page, which is, in this case, WIRB's website, the guide for researchers, which we talked about before, FAQ, and of course, contacting WIRB. So it gives you our key details, such as our mailing and delivery address, as well as our phone numbers down here at the bottom. Again, that is also on all of our forms. Okay. Like I said, a lot of dense materials that we've covered. I do not expect you to remember it all, but I did want to, why is my computer not letting me show this on here? Huh, weird. Well, I do apologize for the extra lines. The slide deck won't actually populate to the right screen. I'm not quite sure why, probably some technical aspect that I don't know how to fix. Maybe that'll do it. There we go. Is there any questions in regards to what we've gone over? Is there any concerns? And as I stated at the beginning, this screen is the most important one. Feel free to call us, to reach out to us, to get us to help you. That's what we're here for. We don't want you spending a lot of time wasting your valuable time being frustrated because you didn't quite get how the system was working, or it's doing something screwy, or not the way you expected. We'll be more than happy to help you. So with that being said, I'm going to open up the floor for anyone else that might have questions, concerns, or anything to provide me to respond to. All right, I'm hearing none. Kayla, I'm not familiar with the system to know if there's maybe text or hand raising or something that I'm missing. Can you take a look for me?
Yeah, I think there is. I don't think anyone knows how to use it. Does anyone have any questions? You can just unmute yourself.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if no one has any questions, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying wonderful. I kind of feel like I didn't do very good. If you don't have any questions, I'm a little concerned at how much it got absorbed. But thank you all very much for your time. And Kayla, unless you have something else you want to pull into this, I think we get to give them a little time back.
Yeah, just a couple of things real quick. Just so you know, the observational protocol is still being reviewed by WIRB, so it has not been approved. The form that he reviewed with you at the beginning of the call, I'll fill out the information that's pertinent to me and send you the template. So that I'll send to you by end of business day on Friday. And as a reminder for your reference, today's call and training will be posted on a private YouTube channel. And hopefully this will be live by the end of the week. So if no one has any questions, please contact Chris. He's wonderful and a great resource. So I'll give you back 10 minutes of your day and have a wonderful holiday and New Year's.
You as well, and thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Pleasure.